What's going on, everyone? Today I wanted to talk about my favorite short to mid-range assault rifle in Warzone, and that is the RAM-7. I'm going to kick things off with my favorite RAM-7 loadout. I go into a ton of details in my Building the Best Loadouts for You video about how I came to this loadout. If you want to check out that video, I've got a link to it down in the description below. But what I like for a Warzone RAM-7 is I like the monolithic suppressor, the FSS Ranger barrel, the Merc foregrip, 50-round magazine, and rubberized grip tape. If you wanted to kit this thing out to be a little bit better short range, you could also go with the stippled grip tape instead of the rubberized grip tape. You could also trade out that rubberized grip or the Merc foregrip for an optic if you don't like the iron sights on the Ram, but I think the iron sights are just fine. The other three attachments, the monolithic suppressor, the FSS Ranger barrel, and the 50-round mag, I wouldn't mess around with those too much. And the first thing I'm going to talk about with this Ram is the downside. The only real downsides to the Ram, and there are two of them. One is that the maximum magazine is a 50-round mag, as opposed to like the M4 or the Grau, you can put 60-round mags on those and be good to go. With the Ram, you can only go up to 50 rounds, so that's an obvious downside. And the second downside to the Ram is going to be the recoil. Now this Ram is unusual because it's going to kick up and to the left. Most of the other guns, they either kick almost straight up like the Grau, or they kick up and a little bit to the right like the M4. Some people have a lot of trouble controlling that leftward recoil as opposed to the rightward, so that's just something to be aware of when you're trying out this gun. It takes a little bit longer to reload than the M4 or the Grau at 2.9 seconds, but that's not really that big of a deal. It's still well within reasonable for an assault rifle. So for all of those downsides, what do you get for an upside with the Ram? Well, you get a weapon that fires pretty darn fast at 860 RPM, and you also get pretty good base damage. When you combine these two, if you're able to hit your shots, you're going to end up with a faster time to kill than the M4 can deliver. You've also got a weapon that's far enough off meta that you don't have to worry about it getting nerfed anytime soon. That fast fire rate is also going to help you in closer quarter situations where you might have to hip fire, and in situations where you do have to hip fire, that Merc foregrip is going to help you quite a bit because it's going to tighten your hip fire spread. The RAM-7 also aims down sights one frame faster than the M4, which is why you can get away with the rubberized grip tape instead of the stippled grip tape. This helps your recoil control just a little bit more, which helps negate one of the big downsides of this weapon. With my sales pitch out of the way, I'd like to walk you through a few in-game scenarios where I used the RAM-7 and came out on top. In this first gameplay example, we've got some guys camping on top of the train station, and unfortunately for them, I had a RAM-7 and this was pretty close quarters. So unless they've got an SMG or a shotgun out and ready, my RAM-7 is going to drop them a whole lot faster than they can drop me with an M4 or a Grau. And this is really the kind of situation that you want to get yourself into when you've got the Ram, because it's going to beat out those other assault rifles at close to mid ranges. It's not really that good at taking out opponents at a very long distance though, so the Ram is best paired with a sniper rifle. My sniper rifle of choice is the HDR, and I've got a video explaining more about the attachments that I use on my HDR. Again, that's the same one that's talking about the Ram, that's in the description down below if you want to check that out. Now you'll notice when I come out of the top of the stairs, that's a very dangerous situation to put myself in. But I had confidence in the Ram because it's great at these up-close engagements. The guy at the top of the stairs had a Kar 98K and a Grau, and he had a height advantage on me too, and he had a pretty good shot. He would have easily been able to kill me if I had any assault rifle other than the Ram. In the next series of engagements, you can see that Grey Fox and I got split up, and that's just because I fell off the rooftop. Total accident, but it worked out great for us because we do end up winning this game. All I'm doing here is I'm just kind of creeping around, and this area around train station is the perfect place for a Ram because you have quite a few long sight lines as well as some short sight lines, so you need a gun with good versatility like the Ram or even the M4 for some of these longer sight lines. But again, just keep your engagements close range, and if they don't have an SMG, you're probably going to win that fight. Now we're going to move on to the first final circle engagement of this video. And here, Grey Fox and I kind of had a choice to make. We could either push this other team, or we could wait for them to push us. A lot of the time, I'm one of those aggressive players that likes to push, and that's why the Ram works pretty well for me. But in this case, the final circle made our decision for us because it decided to move. And since it was coming our direction, it really didn't make any sense for us to push the enemies. These enemies waited too long to rotate, and because they pushed us way too late, they ended up being inside the storm. And since I had a gas mask and a Ram, I went into the storm to challenge them. I was able to take out both of these enemies without a reload in between. For the first engagement of gameplay number 2, you're going to notice that we have the storm at our back pushing us through quarry. As we're entering into the quarry, we get into a fight with two guys right in front of us. I'm a little bit too close for comfort, but I'm able to take cover and use my RAM to defend myself while my teammates catch up. You might notice that this is not using the RAM from the loadout, so I don't have a suppressor or the extended magazine on it, so I have to pull out the Bison to help out. Normally, I would not recommend running the RAM with an SMG because the RAM is already pretty good at close range. Rather, the RAM would be much better suited paired with a sniper rifle like I said before. But this clip really just shows how much damage that RAM can do even with only 30 rounds in the magazine, which is one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite pickup guns early game. In the next clip, we're over by the military base at the bunkers, and you can see just how quickly the RAM-7 is able to take out an opponent. This engagement is right about 35 meters away, and this is the perfect distance for fighting with the RAM-7. You can of course engage in some longer range fights, but this is the perfect range because your time to kill is so competitive, and that recoil is just pretty much non-noticeable at this range. This guy gets absolutely lasered. But this isn't to say that the RAM is completely worthless at longer ranges. As long as you can see your target, you can do a lot of good damage just by single-shotting this weapon. But of course you don't have to single-shot in order to have pretty good accuracy once you learn to control it by adjusting the right stick. With its high rate of fire and reasonable damage output, the RAM-7 is also great if you're trying to third-party those final two enemies and get yourself a Warzone victory. And if you're looking for even more Warzone tips, tricks, and tactics to get more victories, subscribe to the channel and check out some of the other videos on the screen right now. Don't forget to drop a like for this video, and as always, thank you very much for watching.